Hi guys and welcome back. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Halloween cake. Let's begin. To get started on the recipe, you'll want to grab yourself a large mixing bowl, and into your mixing bowl place your butter and your sugar and beat the two together until they are lighter and fluffier in colour and consistency. For this amount of butter and sugar it should take between 7 and 10 minutes, but it may take longer or less time depending on the temperature of your butter and how warm it is in the climate around you. Once it's lighter and fluffier, you can then go ahead and start to add your eggs a little at a time, just until they're fully incorporated, being careful not to split the mixture as that is not ideal at this point. That's why you always add your egg a little at a time. Once all of the egg has been incorporated, you can then go ahead and add in your vanilla, just mix until incorporated. Then you can go ahead and give your bowl a good scraping down just to incorporate any bits that may not have been fully worked in from earlier on. You can then go ahead and add in the raw ingredients, which are just plain flour, salt and baking powder, and mix these over a low speed to start with, just until it's starting to incorporate. Then you can turn it up to a medium-high speed and mix until it's fully incorporated, and you should have a smooth cake batter with no traces of any single ingredient apart from the bits that are at the top of the bowl. Then you can go ahead and give the bowl a quick scraping down just to incorporate any bits of dry that may not have been fully worked in. Now you can take the cake batter and divide it between 3 bowls, add in your milk and colouring and just mix them in until they are fully incorporated. As you can tell, it doesn't look great at first, and I've gone with quite pastel colours as I didn't want something very bright this year. If you want a brighter cake, look at last year's cake. I will leave that linked in the description. Just mix all of your cake batter until the colour has been fully incorporated, being careful not to over mix the batter at this stage. Once the colour has been fully incorporated, you can then transfer it into your cake tins. You'll need 3 6-inch cake tins, but you can use 6 if you want to, but I'm just going to cut them in half later on. Put the batter into the tin and then spread it out to get as level as possible. This will help with consistent baking. And as always, all the baking times, temperatures and all the other information you will need will be in a blog post, which will be linked down below, so don't forget to check it out if you're interested. Now all of the cake batter is in the tin, you can go ahead and place them into the oven and bake them off. To make the meringue decorations, you'll want to go ahead and grab yourself a clean bowl and add in your egg whites, then whisk them on a high speed until they reach a frothy stage. This doesn't take very long and you want to get to the perfect stage, so taking them a little over is better than a little under. Once you've reached the frothy stage, you can then add your sugar, roughly a tablespoon at a time, allowing it to work in fully, as you may find some granules in the meringue later on. You'll just want to whisk it until those granules have been fully worked in. So slow and steady when it comes to adding the sugar. This may take a while, but trust me, it's worth it in the end. So seeing as this isn't a lot of meringue mixture, you can place it into a piping bag which has been fitted with a nozzle of your choice. I went with a plain tip, but feel free to use a star or whichever piping tip you would like. Fill your piping bag as much as you can handle. Then you can take your baking tray and place it onto your counter and just start to pipe your kisses and other shapes that may work on your cake. I went with a mixture of shapes and didn't end up using them all, but the ones I didn't use were used on other bakes that you may see on the channel or you may not in the future. I also made a mixture of sizes so that I had enough in case I needed more smaller ones or more bigger ones, whichever works. And as always, the baking times, temperatures you will need for this will be linked in the blog post, so don't forget to check it out. So here are what the cakes look like once they are fully baked and cooled down and have been levelled. I just brushed mine over with a simple syrup, which is just sugar and water. That will be in the blog post if you want to make it. It's not necessary, but it does help to keep the cake fresh for a couple of days. So if you wanted to make this a couple of days before Halloween, you've got more than enough time and it won't taste stale or old, which is perfect. For the buttercream, I'm making my Italian buttercream, so grab yourself a large mixing bowl and place in your whole egg and your egg yolks and place them on a mixer on a medium-high speed. Into a saucepan, you'll want to go ahead and place in the sugar and water, mixing the two together before you place them onto the hob. And you'll want to place the hob on a medium to medium-high heat. You don't want it too high, but just high enough that it will get to the right temperature at the same time the eggs will once they're on the mixer. Here are what the eggs look like once they have been whisking for a couple of minutes. You may think, oh, that's not anything special, but don't worry, it comes up quickly. Your sugar at this temperature should be around 70 degrees. Once your eggs look like this, you are good to go. So take that mixture once it reaches the right temperature and steadily pour it into the side of the bowl. Pour it down the side rather than on the whiskers. If that spits back at you, you're going to know about it. I've learned from experience, don't worry. And make sure that you've turned the speed down so you don't get any of this sugar mixture on you, as it will burn and blister your skin. So take it steady, you don't need to rush this bit. As you can tell, I've took my time, so why not? Once you have added all of the hot sugar water mixture, you'll want to mix the mixture in the mixing bowl on a very high speed until the bottom of the bowl can be touched with the back of your hand. This normally takes some time, but if it's a little warm, don't worry. If it's hot, stop. Then you can start adding your butter a little at a time, being careful not to add too much, otherwise the mixture will go more liquid, which is not what you are looking for. You are looking for the perfect consistency, and this buttercream can be used straight away, but if you don't need it straight away, you can place it in the fridge. Here is mine. It looked a little bit soft, but don't worry. After whisking it for a good 10-15 minutes, it came up, and if you mix it for about a bit longer than that, it starts to go pale. Ideally, if you don't want to add any whitening powder, add in your flavouring and mix it until fully incorporated. You can then start the decorating process. To do this, you'll want to grab yourself a plate, stand or board and place a small amount of buttercream into the centre and place your first layer of cake onto it, pressing it down to secure it in place. Then add buttercream, and if you want to use jam, and repeat this process for the remainder of the layers of cake. Make sure you get them better layered than mine, because as you can tell, my cake was on a slight wonk at this point, which isn't ideal, but don't worry, we can fix this later on. As you can tell, it's still on a wonk, but not as bad. Just get it perfect and it'll help you out in the long run. So just repeat this until you have no layers of cake left to use up. So I don't use a crumb coat on this cake. I don't want it to be perfect. I just put the buttercream into a piping bag and started to pipe the rings on there. So I pipe rings of buttercream round. I'm doing the same as the cake inside, so I'm doing the corresponding layers of purple, green, orange, and then purple, green, orange again, and just repeat this until I've used up all the buttercream. If with any left over, you may want to save it into a small bowl, then place it into a piping bag, fitted with your nozzle of choice, as we'll use it later on. Again, you can tell there's big gaps, but don't worry, you'll want to scrape the icing first, and then fill in any gaps with the remaining buttercream until you've got the look you're achieving, or want to achieve. If you wanted perfectly even layers of buttercream, you'd want to use a better scraper, but I wasn't looking for them to be perfect. But if you do, there are scrapers out there on the market. Repeat the process until you're done, then chill in the fridge for around half an hour. So for the drip, I'm using white chocolate, but feel free to use a dark or milk chocolate. I've just taken some white chocolate spread and warmed it up slightly, just until it reached the perfect consistency to pour. Not too hot, but not straight from the jar, if that makes sense. It's warm just enough to create the perfect drip, and this is my kind of hack or cheat, but you can feel free to make a ganache from scratch. I also had these little pumpkin sprinkles to use up, so I just placed them on every other drip just to add some colour and something to make it look a bit more Halloweeny, as it isn't too Halloweenish. But then with the remaining buttercream, I piped rosettes on top. I piped 8 of them on top. You can get many more portions out of this cake. Believe me, it's 6 layers of cake, so you would be able to probably push for about 8 to 10 portions. Then to top the rosettes, if you really want to and add more height and more flavour, I'm just using these meringue kisses and these little chocolate shortbread graves I made, and then just place them onto the alternate rosettes until I've filled the top of the cake. So here is what the completed cake looks like with a bit of an up close. It's just got those 3 colours, purple, orange and green, keeping it quite pastel this year rather than quite bright and bold, which is normal for Halloween. You can chill the cake in the fridge for a couple of days in advance if you need to. A day or two won't hurt, or if you want to, you can eat it straight away. And here is what my cake looked like after about 6 hours in the fridge. I just cut a portion to show you, and you can see all 6 layers. There's not too much buttercream, and the jam will help break up that sweetness, as the jam was quite tart. So thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more from me, and I'll be back again soon with another video, so join me then. In the meanwhile, don't forget to check out the description, there'll be links to this recipe, link to my blog, and links to all my social media, so don't forget to follow me over on there. But that's all for today, I hope you enjoyed, bye guys.